everyone. Okay, today I want to talk about more. We're in our series in Daniel 2, and we're trying to understand a little bit more about the clay. Now, the problem is that in Daniel chapter 2, the clay is actually not defined. So we don't know exactly what the clay is. Now, we do know that it's a kingdom, but we don't exactly know, like, who is it? So what a lot of people do is they try to go to other places in the Bible to see if they can get an interpretation for the clay. All right, now in some instances you can definitely do this, but what happens is that a lot of times people will take metaphors or other interpretations for things, and they will say, oh, this is what this prophetic symbol means. The problem is that clay is only used as a prophetic symbol in one place in the Bible, and that's in Daniel chapter 2, and then it's not defined. But let's talk about one verse that people tend to use, which they feel defines the clay, okay, or interprets the clay in Daniel chapter 2. And that verse is Isaiah 64:8. Okay, basically Isaiah 64:8 says, this is a little summary of it, but basically it says, I think it says, now, O Lord, thou art our Father, and we are the clay, and thou art potter, and we all are the work of thy hand. That's Isaiah 64:8. So people go, okay, there you have it. We, Israel, at the time when Isaiah was talking, we are the clay, and that's it. Okay, so some denominations believe that Israel is the clay. Other denominations believe that Israel is now spiritualized, so that the clay, Israel is now the church, so then it's the Christian church that's the clay. But I would like to offer a differing opinion from that, and I'd like to literally illustrate why I don't believe that Isaiah 64:8 can be used to interpret the prophetic symbol of clay in Daniel chapter 2. Okay, in order for us to say that something can interpret a prophetic symbol in one place in the Bible, it needs to be used as a prophetic symbol in another place in the Bible, like via a dream or a vision, and it needs to be interpreted to mean something. Then we can carry that interpretation over into another place. For example, in Daniel chapter 7, we're told that beasts represent kingdoms. Okay, so then when we get to Revelation 17 and we see beasts, we know that they're kingdoms. Okay, so similarly, in order for us to say that the clay means something, there needs to be a vision, a dream or a vision in which clay is used as a prophetic symbol and then interpreted in that instance, and then we can carry that interpretation over into, another vision. Okay, we really don't have that, but I still want to focus on the alleged use of Isaiah 64:8 to substantiate the fact that the clay is God's people. All right, and let's see if that's really biblical. Okay, are we clay? Okay, let's, when we read this verse, it makes us think of the creation account, right? Thou art our Father. I almost fell out of my chair. Thou art our Father, and we are the clay. Thou art potter, and we all are the work of thy hand. So when we think about being the work of God's hand, it brings us back to, this is like a reference to creation. Okay, so I want to just read something from the Bible, if I can stay in my chair, from Genesis 3:19. All right, when it talks about creation, and this is actually after the fall, and Adam and Eve sinned, and the punishment was pronounced, and then death was actually pronounced upon them. And Genesis 3:19 basically says, for dust thou art, and unto dust thou shalt return. Okay, now clay is basically wet dust. Now when it says dust, it means the fine particles of dirt in the earth. And we know that we are actually made of the minerals that are in the dust, like calcium and iron and sulfur, silicon, all those minerals that are in the dust make us up. And when we decompose at death, we decompose down to our minerals also. Okay, so that would be the dust of the earth. And when you add water to that, you get mud, which is basically what the clay is here. So basically wet dust of the earth would be clay, would be mud or clay. Okay, let's also just go briefly to Job. Job 4, 17 through 19, it says, "Shall mortal man be more just than God? Shall a man be more pure than his maker? Behold, he put no trust in his servants, and his angels he charged with folly." Those would be the fallen ones. How much less trust is he going to put in them that dwell in houses of clay? And that would be us human beings, whose foundation is in the dust, which are crushed before the moth. Okay, so how much less in them that dwell in houses of clay? That would be humans. All right, our bodies are being called houses of clay, whose foundation is in the dust, which are crushed before the moth. Okay, so I guess that would mean like before the moth decomposes our bodies, where we go back to dust. Okay, so the scriptures do indeed tell us that we are dust. All right, so now people are, okay, so now let me just literally illustrate why I do not believe, however, despite this, that clay can be used as a symbol to say that that clay can be used as a symbol for Israel or God's people only or specifically. All right, now, I'm not an artist. We're about to just get a little more than stick figures. You see what the feet look like. All right, I'm going to use a brown marker, and this kind of represents clay, okay? Because clay and or dirt are kind of brown. And I hope you can differentiate between the colors. The black here is the iron, and the brown is the clay. All right, so let's just start off with Adam at creation, okay? So let's say this is Adam. Let's see, I'm telling you, stick figures. Okay, so Adam is laying down, and he's not alive, and he's kind of in the dirt, being formed. I'll use purple. Purple's the, is this blue? Yeah, purple. And just say this is terrible of God, but God is forming him, okay, from the dust. This is like black man material. These illustrations. Okay, so God is literally forming Adam, okay, of the dust. All right, so this is Adam. Okay, let's say this is a clay Adam, okay? All right, so this is the dust. This is dust. And okay, so we know Adam is our father, right? He's the first human being, and he's made literally out of the clay or the dust of the earth. So let's make Adam upright now. Okay. And so this is a clay Adam. Adam's made out of clay. Okay, so his descendants. All right, I don't remember everyone. I'm just trying to make a general point here. Okay, I know there was Abel and Cain and I don't know who else, but okay, so Cain was slain, so this is gonna, Abel was slain. So this is gonna be a clay Cain, because Cain is also made out of the same elements as Adam, so he's also clay. And I don't know who else were all of the other descendants, but let's just say this is another clay son and another one. All right. So now, the father is clay and all of the descendants are clay, right? So now I'm just going to do one more. And let's just say that all these sons made nations, okay? I'll make them a little smaller. All right. Actually, let me put a couple of people. All right. Okay. So these are ultimately just all the descendants, okay? Let's say that one of these nations is actually Israel. Okay, so this is a clay Israel, and this is another clay nation. And this is another clay. This is another clay nation. Now, you probably could see like where I'm going with this. All right. In Isaiah, okay, when he is making the statement, okay, he's saying we all, okay, Isaiah is definitely addressing the nation of Israel when he makes this statement, okay? So when he says that we all are the work of thy hand, okay, he is addressing Israel, and he is referring to Israel, saying that all of Israel, we are the clay and we are the work of thy hand, and that is true. But the reason that Israel is clay or is the work of God's hand is because Israel is part of a larger body, which is just humanity, just human beings. If you notice here, everyone is made of clay. Everyone is clay here because Israel is a subset of a larger body of humanity. That's why Israel is clay. So the question is asked, can we say that clay only represents Israel? Can we say that can clay be used as a symbol to only represent Israel? And the answer for that is no. It just cannot be. Okay, because if I took one of these clay people and I held it up to you and I said, who is this? Do you know what I'm saying? They all are clay. So you're not going to say, oh, this, this clay person, this is Israel only. You're not going to be able to say that this is Israel only, okay? Because everyone here, this is humanity at large, is clay, okay? Everyone is literally made up of clay. And that's the point. It's a general statement. This is a general statement. Thou art our father, we are the clay. Yes, we, Israel, are the clay because all human beings are clay. And since Israel is composed of human beings, everyone's clay. All right, now, if this kind of doesn't make sense, what you can do is you can substitute the phrase flesh and blood. Okay, because we know that everybody on the earth is made of flesh and blood. We kind of use that phrase, okay? So let's just substitute this for a moment and see if it makes sense to you. Thou art our father, we are flesh and blood. Thou art our potter, we all are the work of thy hand. So if Adam is flesh and blood, and all his sons are flesh and blood, and everyone of every nation is flesh and blood, then if I say to you, oh, you know what, here's a person here's someone made out of flesh and blood. Who are they? You know what I mean? You're not going to say, oh, they're just Israel. No, because everyone is made out of flesh and blood. So, I don't know. I hope that this makes sense. It's just, it's a general statement that applies to everyone. And that's why you can't say that clay is a unique symbol for Israel. All right. Thank you for watching.